There's a chapter of life that no one really prepares you for. It's that one that starts when your career title you've had for decades, teacher, mechanic, supervisor, manager, is suddenly replaced with retiree. And you suddenly wonder, where did that younger version of me go to? It can feel unsettling, like the ground is shifted beneath your feet. You're not quite sure where to stand, what you're supposed to do. Today I'm going to share 5 truths that help me stop chasing, start breathing, and find real peace and purpose in this stage of my life. The first, and maybe the hardest truth I had to learn was to stop fighting this stage that I was going into, this season that I was in. The first year after my work life changed and I retired, I tried to keep up the same pace I'd maintained for 40 years. I started all kinds of new hobbies, ham radio, jewelry making, getting into watercolor painting and drawing. I filled my days with projects, self-imposed deadlines, and a constant need to feel productive. Honestly, it was exhausting, and I wasn't really happy. I was burning myself out by trying to take on too much. Aging is a natural process, but so many of us resist it. We fight the gray hairs, we lament the loss of energy, we mourn the person that we were at 30 years old. But here's the secret: acceptance is where peace begins. So accepting this season you're in doesn't mean giving up. It means giving into the wisdom and grace, the different rhythm that this time of life offers. It's about acknowledging that your body might need more rest, and that's perfectly okay. It's recognizing that your mind now holds a wealth of experience that a younger person, a younger you, didn't have. When I finally stopped fighting this new season I was going into and started accepting it, I didn't feel weaker. I felt a profound sense of relief. It was like I'd been holding my breath for a year and could finally exhale. This season isn't about the climb. It's about the view from this new plateau that you're on. And it's beautiful. So for 40 years, when somebody asked me the question, so what do you do? I could answer it with one word. I'm a supervisor. I'm a technician. I'm a training instructor. Then all of a sudden one day, I couldn't answer it that way anymore. Retiree just sounded kind of lame. An identity crisis after retirement is a very real thing that many people go through, because so much of our self-worth is tied to our professional roles in our work life. We're taught to produce, to achieve, to have a business card that defines us. The second truth I discovered is that my identity is so much bigger than my job title. It took time to unlearn the habit of measuring my worth by my productivity. The breakthrough for me came when I realized I could measure my worth by a whole bunch of other roles I play. Father, a friend, a neighbor, a mentor, a storyteller, a grandfather. Retirees who cultivate diverse identities, seeing themselves in multiple roles beyond just worker, have higher life satisfaction. That's just the way it works. A year or so after my retirement, my sister asked me to run the live stream for her church during the COVID lockdown. And so I started doing that, and I came to really enjoy it and kept on doing it even after the COVID lockdown was over and they were back to worshiping in person again, and I continue it to this day. It's just a small act of service that gives me real satisfaction and feel like I'm contributing a little bit. It gives me the same sense of purpose that I had when I was working a regular job, but without all the stress. So your identity isn't just some rigid single thing. It's a beautiful mosaic of all of your relationships, passions, and experiences. So you're not just a retired anything. You're a living collection of wisdom and stories. And this is the perfect time to explore all of the other pieces of who you truly are. Hey, so if this story is resonating with you, right where you are now as a retiree, as a grandparent, maybe both. I share reflections like this every Saturday evening. So if you would, hit the subscribe button down below so that you'll get notified whenever I put out another video like this. Might show up just when you need it the most. So in our hyper-connected world, it's so easy to fall into the comparison trap. You see photos of old colleagues still climbing the corporate ladder, or maybe you look at your own kids in their 30s and 40s, juggling careers and families with, it seems like, limitless energy. And sometimes the comparison we make, the most painful one, is with our younger selves. We think, man, I used to be able to run up 2 flights of steps. You look at old photos and you think, where did that guy go? What happened? But the third truth is a liberating one. You have to stop comparing your chapter 65 or chapter 70 to somebody else's chapter 30, or even to your own past chapters. Comparing your current self to your former self is almost the surest way of stealing your own joy. I remember the envy I briefly felt when I saw in a newsletter that a younger coworker, a guy that I had originally hired, had been promoted to the superintendent position that I had always wanted to get. And I felt a little jealous, a little envy. But then it hit me. You know, he can climb that mountain, but I can sit with a friend who is grieving and know exactly what to say and what not to say. My wisdom and empathy have grown in ways that I could not have imagined when I was in my 30s and 40s. It's because this chapter of your life is about emotional richness and a deeper understanding of life. When you stop comparing, you can start appreciating the unique gifts of this specific chapter of your life. You traded that youthful energy for something far more precious, wisdom and perspective. So stop grading your life against your past. Celebrate who you've become. Our society glorifies doing. We're conditioned to believe that a full calendar equals a full life. The transition into retirement can be jarring because those external pressures to always be doing something suddenly vanish, and they can leave a void. For a while, I tried to fill that void with all kinds of hobbies and activities, but it just led to a different kind of exhaustion. So the fourth truth I want to talk about is a quiet revolution against that mindset. It's that peace comes from being, not just from doing. That doesn't mean sitting on your butt in a chair all day long. It means you shift your focus from a life of frantic activity to a life of mindful presence. And this is where the power of routine and ritual can come in. Establishing a simple, predictable daily routine can reduce stress and anxiety by creating a sense of security and calm. For me personally, it starts with a simple morning ritual. I still wake up around 5 o'clock in the morning, just like I did when I was working for 40 years, even though I've been retired for 8 years. But I still wake up that early. And like I always did, I go ahead and get up, get straight into the shower, get dressed, kind of get ready for the day. And then I go out and I make myself a pot of coffee and I sit and read the news on my iPad or read a book. And it's relaxing knowing I don't have to be anywhere. I can sit here and read for 15 minutes. I can sit here and read for an hour and a half. It doesn't matter. It's whatever works for me on any particular day. I don't feel like I have to rush into anything necessarily. And that simple routine kind of grounds and sets up my entire day. It's not about productivity. It's about presence. I rediscovered the joy of reading a book without a deadline, taking a walk just to feel the sun in my face, or having a long, unhurried conversation with a friend. When you release that need to constantly prove your worth, you can create space for a quiet and steady peace to enter your life. So our society is always telling us to do more, but in this season of your life, it's okay to just be more. Be more kind, be more still, be more present. Marcus Aurelius said, nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. And so this last truth I want to share with you is something I wish I'd learned earlier. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel better, it makes you see better. So when we're in a season of big changes, it's easy to focus on what we've lost. Our career, our work friends, our youthful energy, a certain sense of importance. So gratitude shifts our focus from what remains to what we've gained. I was skeptical at first, but I started a simple habit that when I go to bed at night, before I go to sleep, I just kind of think to myself of 3 things that I'm grateful for that day. Could be something significant like having a wonderful day babysitting one of my grandchildren. It could be something simple and relatively trivial as, I cooked a nice dinner that my wife and I both really enjoyed. I sat in my comfortable chair and finished a good book I've been reading. Or maybe I just sat outside and watched a beautiful sunset. And through this small practice, I started noticing more good in my days. Instead of seeing a body with 2 metal hips and a bum shoulder rotator cuff, I felt gratitude for a body that still allows me to take a walk around the neighborhood, to get down on the floor and play with my grandkids. Instead of focusing on an empty schedule, I feel grateful for the freedom to choose how I can spend my time. So gratitude, it doesn't pretend that hardship doesn't exist. It just changes how we carry it by choice. And it allows a peace to settle in that's not dependent on our circumstances. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, wrote, "It's not the man who has too little, but the one who craves more who is poor." Practicing gratitude can help stop that craving and make room for peace. So there they are, 5 truths that have changed everything for me in retirement and helped me settle into this new phase of life. It's stopping fighting the season that you're in, accepting where you're at, remembering your identity is more than your last job title. Stop comparing yourself to others or to your own younger self. Find your peace in being, not in doing. And finally, practice gratitude. So this chapter of life isn't an ending. It's an invitation to find a quieter, more authentic sense of yourself. It's about letting go of who you thought you were supposed to be and embracing who you really are right now. So if you're wondering where that younger version of yourself went to, still here right now, just a little older, a little wiser, maybe a few more aches and pains, but a lot more at peace. So before you go, what's one thing from today's story that hit home for you? What lesson have you learned as a new retiree or a new grandparent? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear about it and start a conversation. And your experience might be exactly what somebody else needs to hear today to help them get through their changes in life. So, thank you for spending time with me. Be kind to yourself. I'll see you on the next one.